Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Mortgage Musketeer, where today we're going to be talking about collections and paying them off. All right, so the big thing that you need to know is, and I get this every single time that I pull credit and there's something derogatory on the credit dealing with collections. When people take it upon themselves and they pay them off and it goes to a zero balance, I let them know that their credit score is still low and let them know that they still have collections on their credit report with a zero balance. And every single time they're like, well, I paid that off. That shouldn't be there. Well, the truth is that if you pay off a collection, it doesn't go away. All right. It starts a 7-year period before it will fall off. So collections and derogatory credit stay on your credit report for up to 7 years before they drop off on their own. There is a date of last activity on every single trade line that says, hey, the last time that there was some type of interaction with you. Now, if you decide to take it upon yourself, which is probably the right thing to do, to pay off your collection, then it starts that DLA, that date of last activity, and kicks that clock going again. So something for you to know about how this operates, even though it doesn't drop off on its own, if you've paid that collection agency, at that point, they really don't have much interest in you. So this is where credit repair companies, and sometimes you can do it on your own, actually have a bigger or greater chance of getting it off of your credit report by utilizing the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And basically what they'll do is they'll go through a series of disputes to try and get that off of there. If a credit company, a creditor, does not respond to that dispute within 30 days, it has to drop off. So understand the relationship and the correlation between the creditor and the credit bureau. Okay, the 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, they just receive information from the different creditors and it goes on your credit report. So unless that creditor takes it off of your credit report, the credit agencies do nothing more than simply update the balance to a zero balance, and it shows that you don't owe anymore. And then that goes into their algorithm of how that impacts your overall credit score. Obviously, over time, it's going to heal. Okay, so the longer it's been since whatever that activity was, the more points you'll gain back from that derogatory hit. But it still sits on your credit report for 7 years. And this adds to things like layered risk and other things when you're actually going through an automatic underwriting approval for a mortgage. So all those factors play in and are very important. But you have to know that just because you paid off your collection, that does not mean that it goes away. It still stays on your credit report because you still had that blemish. You still made the choice or life event or whatever happened to not make that payment, and that creditor put a collection against you. Right? That has a massive derogatory effect on your credit, and it takes time and effort and sometimes money to make that go away. All right, so knowing that, then the next steps forward from that, if you pay it off to a zero balance, if you really want to get rid of it, is to engage with a credit repair company or try and do it yourself. Difficult to do, but has been done. But you want to do that if you truly want it to go away. And if it's at a zero balance, more than likely that that creditor, you don't owe them any money. They probably won't even waste any time trying to actually say no, it's legitimate, right? So if they respond and say it is legitimate, then there's a couple other rounds that they can go through. At some point, that creditor will probably decide it's not worth the time and effort because you don't owe them any money anymore. And they simply won't respond. And if they don't respond, then there's a good chance that it will go away. Now, that's how it works. Doesn't mean that that's what that creditor will do. That creditor could continue to respond. So there's no magic bullet on that, but your chances increase dramatically when you have a zero balance. Now, if you decide other than that and you want to try and address it, there are things called a pay for deletion. A pay for deletion is different, and that's what we do on medical collections. That's when you call them up and say, hi, if I pay this today, will you delete it from my credit report? That's the key. So if you pay for it, always try to do a pay for deletion, right? And most of them, some of them will be okay with that because what do they care? They're getting their money. Medical collection is the easiest one to do that on. Do a medical collection, do a pay for deletion, it'll come off your credit report. All the other types of collections, they don't always do that. So that's something to keep in mind, but it doesn't hurt to ask if you want to settle and try and pay for it. Now, if you're going to delete it, a lot of times they're going to want you to pay the full amount. All right. Otherwise, you could potentially negotiate it, pay it at a lower balance, get it to a zero balance, and then fight it later. Okay. Hope this helps, but you got to know that just because you paid off that medical collection or just because you paid off that regular collection, unless they do pay for deletion, it's going to update to a zero balance. It's going to update the date of last activity, and it's going to stay on your credit report for up to 7 years. All right. Hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And until next time, it's all for one and one for all.